Hello everyone and welcome back to Prestige Reef. Now, those of you that follow the channel regularly will have noticed that last week I didn't put out a video. There is a reason for that. It's a pretty exciting reason. You don't get to know yet. You will find out in probably about a month's time. But change is coming. And it's a pretty significant change. Well, it's a huge change for my life. Some of you will be able to guess. Some of you will already know a little bit, and some of you will probably go, how the hell has he pulled that off? But yeah, so there is, but obviously preparation for that is taking quite a lot of my time, which is why I might not be as active on social media as usual, because I usually try to put out one video a week. So you have to bear with me, but it's yeah, as I said, it's something that's pretty exciting, and it's also one of the reasons that I built this room. So, and you might go, what do you mean one of the reasons you built this room? You will find out why, as I said, soon enough. But it's when you find out, you're probably like, this is boring. But for me, it's a pretty big deal. So so yeah. So I thought I would give you a little update on the room. Again, it's like not a huge amount changes on a day-to-day basis, which is why all the time that I'm filming in here, it's difficult, because obviously, because we're still in lockdown, as you can see by my crazy hair, it's for me personally, it's quite difficult to stay motivated to keep producing content. So yeah. Anyway, what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be fragging some Montipora, because I might as well show you while I'm doing it, because I have to do it anyway, so I might as well show you. And I'll also give you an update on System 2. Now, System 2 is an interesting one because it is doing something completely different to what System 1 did during its cycle. So I will cover that in a minute. Now, before I pick the Montiporas that I'm going to be fragging, I'm probably going to do the Sunset Montipora and the Mystic Sunset Montipora. I wanted to clarify something. Now, a lot of people ask why I wear gloves. Now, I don't actually wear gloves for the reason most people probably think I wear gloves. So corals obviously do contain a toxin, but some of the toxins are worse than others. Some of the corals also sting, but those aren't the reasons that I wear them. This is a little bit, like insider like knowledge for you. The reason I wear gloves is because I hate the smell of coral on my hands. And if I'm picking up just one piece of coral or whatever, it's different. But when I'm handling multiple pieces of coral, I'm cutting them up and they're slimy everywhere, I wear gloves because I don't like the fact that later in the evening, 3 hours later, despite the fact I've washed my hands and everything, you still smell coral on your hands. So that is the reason why I wear gloves in a lot of videos. So like, there you go, you've got a little bit of knowledge. I hate the smell of coral, which is ironic considering this. Now, before I grab the Monty for you, I just noticed that Drogon is on the hunt. So you can see, oh, there you go, just grab something. Now, I was slightly concerned. As I said, they are eating frozen copepods, but I was also slightly concerned that they would get enough food within the tank itself. Now, I will show you something here. I'll show you this. Now, this gives you a little bit of an idea of the density of the copepods in this system, so for them to hunt. Now, it's not just those, like every tile, every frag plug, it's covered in them. I'm not actually sure where they've all come from, basically, because I assume, obviously, because I haven't actually added any copepods to this tank, so I assume that they come, obviously, on some of the wild corals, but I haven't noticed any sort of decline in their population. I do keep a close eye on how much is how many are on each tile, but as you can see, there's still plenty there, and they've been in here for a little while now. So it's I think also the fact that they're only in this tank rather than being in all of the tanks, it means the copepods can obviously travel between the systems, and there's always plenty in there for them to eat. But they're really interesting fish, providing you can feed them, and they're one of my favourite fish within the tank. The other thing to show you is that the Cephastrias, let me just grab this, the Cephastrias, which were in a a video not that long ago, probably I think two videos ago, where they looked like they were basically dying. You can see that they pretty much all come back, which is exactly what Sophastrias do. Now I've fragged some other Sophastrias recently, and you can see they're doing exactly the same thing, where they're like the drama queens of corals basically, where they look like they're almost dead, and then give them a couple of weeks, and they bounce back pretty quickly. So so I'm really happy with those. And the other thing I noticed is that one of the 24K lithos has got a green fleck on it. I don't know if you'll be able to see, if it'll even focus. See that little tiny green fleck? So all the people who have bought these from me recently, you should check your pieces really closely, because I know the mother colony did have one green stripe in it. So the fact that I've got a few pieces with different, I didn't think I had any green flecks, but it's possible that some of your frags might have pieces of green on them as well, which is the green is recessive, so it's definitely if you did get a piece like that, it's definitely a rarer piece. Right, now those of you that follow the channel for a while will know that the Montipora in this tank has had a reasonably rough ride. I had some low nutrient issues, and it just did not like it very much. So, but as you can see, you can see the growth rings around the edge now. So there's definitely a change in some of the pieces. Now, the pieces I'm going to be fragging today are the Mystic Sunset, which is, as you can see, sort of like a metallic orange, and each of the polyps are sort of half black, and you can't see very well, but they're half silver as well. So that's what makes a Mystic Sunset. I'm going to be doing the Sunset Montipora, which is the bright orange one with the green polyps, and then this was sold to me as Poker Stars, but I'm starting to wonder if it's actually a rainbow Montipora, because there's a little bit of orange around the edge. Now these pieces aren't going to be sold for a while, so it doesn't matter that they're not quite the right colour, and they won't go out until they are the right colour. It's purely, it basically it allows them to grow over a plug and then to colour up, because sometimes they lose their colour when you frag them anyway. So so that's the reason I'm doing this now. So and then the other piece I probably will do will be a piece of the Montipora paloensis. There's a smaller piece, but I've got some bigger pieces here. So I'll probably be doing that. Now that's on the website already. The final thing to discuss with this system is that the soft corals have absolutely exploded since I increased the nutrient levels. As you can see, they are doing really well. The other coral that unfortunately is probably going to do really well is the pulsing Xenia. Xenia is a bit of a strange one, because I have it. You can see that it's growing everywhere. But every time someone tries to buy it from me, I advise them not to. So I'm not really sure why I have it, because sometimes it gets out of control. But you can see the little jawbreaker is growing. It's getting more and more red every day, which is good. The little Redactus is doing well. I've got a Kryptonite, which you saw in a previous video, and I'm hoping that this will split soon, because obviously it's huge. I might frag it myself, but we shall see. And then the Sunkissed Bounce Mushrooms are also doing well. You can see that the glass is a little bit dirty. Again, that comes down to time. Unfortunately, when you have this much glass to clean, you've got all this glass, it definitely it takes a little while to do, so I'm not as on top of it as I probably should be. There's so many nice pieces, like this for example, which I just haven't got around to putting onto the website yet. But I'm trying to do a little bit at a time. So anyway, let's grab the Montipora and we'll take it over to the fragging station. Right, now as you can see, the first thing I like to do whenever I'm fragging corals is to basically get everything that I'm going to need out, because once I'm standing here, the sword's on, I don't want to be running around going, where's the frag plugs, where's the iodine, where's coral glue. So what I'd like to do is prepare everything in advance so that I've got everything in front of me. Now, something that is quite funny. Now, these were the glasses that I was using to do all the fragging, and obviously I posted pictures on Instagram and people have seen them on YouTube, and one of the people that follows the channel disliked them so much that they actually sent me some cool new ones so that I look a bit more a little bit more cool while fragging. And I've also got some, you know, are these ones, this is like advanced fragging, I assume for like zoas, because they've got, or you know, snorkeling, I guess. So obviously that was very kind of them to send. So yeah, I no longer have to use these, and I use some, you know, got to be looking fashionable while doing it. First thing we obviously need to do is to prepare the saw. So this is basically just to keep the saw cold, so that it doesn't overheat. Now I always put the first jug of water from the tank in there because it's slightly colder than the rest. There's a drop in the tank temperature, so obviously the pipe's quite long for this. So the pipe obviously, as you know, runs all the way down there, all the way over to that tank. Now the pipe that is between that tank and here, there is a temperature difference of about 2 degrees. So I always run it for just a couple of seconds first, which seems like a waste, but I usually do this on days that I do water changes. So it's not obviously a huge issue. And then once the water's the correct temperature, which it is now, fill up a jug and then use it for the corals. So it's going to need probably about 3 of those. As I said, it might seem like a waste of water, but this is water I'm literally using for a water change. So it's not a big deal. And I'm going to need 1 more. Now, what I'll do, I will cut the coral up, so you can see that this piece is actually quite thick. So I'll trim it down so that it's like as thin as possible. The waste, the stuff that I don't need, will be thrown into here, and then all the frags will go back into this. And I'm going to put iodine in this now. So because coral clean basically contains iodine. I'm not sure what else it contains, but I know it definitely contains iodine. Sometimes I literally just use iodine, like straight iodine, but I've run out at the moment. So yeah, I just need to. So what I'll do is I'll put iodine in this water anyway, because it's like a disinfectant before I cut them, and then once they're cut, they go back into here as well. So let me just prepare that. Now, something I forgot to show you before I turned the water yellow, so it's hard to see, is I like to inspect all the coral before. Because obviously while the coral's in the tank, it's difficult to give it a good inspection. So it allows me to see like the health of the coral, and also to see if there's any pests or anything. So because look, there's plenty of places for things to be hiding in those holes. Whenever I get a coral out to frag it, I just, not just specifically for this coral, if I found something on this coral, there's obviously the potential there could be something on other corals. So it's always a good idea just to inspect the corals to see if there's anything like that shouldn't be there. And yeah, this is some of the best way to basically have a proper look. So while they're in there for a couple of minutes, just to basically, as I said, sort of disinfect them, because obviously Montipora aren't usually a big issue. It's mainly for like LPS corals if you're cutting through flesh, but it's just good practice to do it anyway. So as you can see, I've got the plugs all out and ready. I need to put the glue on. I'm using a different type of plug. I bought different ones. I've been using. I bought some really cheap ones, which I now regret. I can't even find them. I think I've used most of them. Oh, here's one. See, and they're fine for like the sticks, like the digitada and stuff like that, because they've got like a little hole in them. But obviously, if I am cutting something which has got a flat base, I use so much extra unnecessary glue filling up that gap, which is basically a waste. So I've tried these. I can't actually remember where I got them from now, but what I will say is that they're reasonably clean. So all my frag plugs get a bath in RO water, which I change out pretty frequently. And sometimes if you do this, it turns the water completely white. So I'm actually pleasantly surprised with the quality of these plugs. But yeah, so I'm pretty happy with those. So what I need to do now is, these are all slightly damp, and they need to be damp for the coral glue to work. You don't want them too damp because it doesn't work properly. It wasn't with those. It was the issue with was again with these plugs. When there was water sitting in, like actually in there, if you put glue in there, the glue then wouldn't stick to the plug properly. So as I said, these are slightly damp. I'm going to go through and put glue on all of them just to speed up the process. When you're fragging like this and you're doing like hundreds of frags in one go, it's just easier to put glue on every single one, cut the corals up, stick them on as you go along basically. So right, unfortunately I needed 2 hands for that, so that's why I had to put the camera down. But as you can see, just a little dab of glue on every single one of them. The base of the glue will now be curing because obviously it's touched the water, which is good. And as you can see, with these, I've used a tiny amount of glue, probably about 1/4 of the amount of glue I was using before. So that's as I said, I'm genuinely really happy with those. So right, so next thing to do, get these out, cut them up, stick them on there, and then I basically will put this back into the tank all in one go. Right now, I obviously have a saw. Now I know most people don't have a saw, so there's actually other options with Fragging Montipora. This piece is slightly more difficult because it's a bit thicker, but what I could do with something like this or something that's plating, this is encrusting, but it's sort of, this originally grew onto sand, which is why it looks like it's plating, but it's definitely not, it's encrusting. So one of the things you can do is literally just break it. Now that piece will survive. There is one Montipora which I have struggled with like very small fragments, but usually even if you break it down into little tiny pieces, it will still survive when it's Montipora. So but what I can do, hold it. I like to hold it in one hand, grip it with the bone cutters, and then put my finger on the other side, because sometimes, not so much with Montipora, but sometimes the coral flies over there. So just stop it from going anywhere, and that's basically it. You can see that this one's not very it's not a very thick piece. So right now I have a little confession to make. I broke my tripod the other day. I accidentally stepped on it, which broke one of the legs, and unfortunately that means I have nothing to hold the camera. So I'm going to try and do this one-handed. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, then I'll just show you the end result, basically. So obviously, there's a bit of noise now. Saw goes on, and then as you can see, it really is as simple. See, I'm not going to be able to do it properly if I do it one-handed, but it really is that simple, where you can just cut off the bits you want. That's an alright piece, and then I try and work out how I'm going to stick it on the plug. You can cut the bottom off to give it a flat base. Like that. Over there, and then now I know I mentioned in a previous video, but this blade won't cut me, so I don't know if you can hear when the actual saw's on, but I can literally put my finger on it, and it doesn't even cut through the plastic. So although you might think that it's you become a little bit, you know, blasé around it, because it's obviously not a proper saw. And then what I like to try and do is get a frag plug, just see that I've made it the correct size, and yeah, that's not a bad piece. So, and then what I'll do, it will gradually start to grow out over the plug, and yeah. So right, I won't be doing any more of it one-handed, and then what I'll do, I'll show you what it looks like at the end. Right, now that's the first batch done. Now what you probably might be wondering is, how come some of them are bigger than others? Now the reason for this is because I know that I'm not going to sell all these all in one day. So what usually happens is I frag them too big. They then grow out over the plug and then onto the frag rack. So what I'm doing now is creating slightly smaller frags and bigger ones. So the big ones can obviously be sold once they're ready to go. And then the smaller ones will have time to grow out over the plug, and then will be ready in a few months' time. So it's sort of like, I'm thinking for the future basically, rather than doing them all, trying to like get rid of all in one go. Now the reason I do this is because I'm not in any hurry to sell these corals. I know that they will continue to grow as they have done for months and months in my systems. So and basically, as long as you don't kill coral, the value of them grows. So I'm not in the let's get something in, cut up as quickly as possible, ship it out as quickly as possible because I'm worried it might die, because I know that there's a good chance that it won't. So obviously there's always a possibility. So that's one I like to try and frag for the future, basically, if you see what I mean. And the other thing is I'm trying to create like a premium product. You can buy frags from anywhere. You can buy frags from shops. It's far easier. I buy from shops usually because I like to see what I'm buying. I like to see if there's any pests or whatever. So I am a big advocate of buying from shops because I would be a hypocrite if I didn't say that. So what I try and do is try to create the product sounds weird, but try to create like premium corals which have been, they've been rested, they've grown onto the plugs. They're I'm trying to add value to something that you can get elsewhere. I'm doing everything I can to make them pest free and the maximum amount of them survive fragging, which is why I use iodine. Some people don't use iodine. It's I'm really trying to do everything I can to create a premium product. Because that's why some of the customers that are buying from me come back time and time again, because they obviously know what they're getting. So it almost feels like it's turned into an advert, but I'm trying to get my point across. Like growing corals is the future of this industry. There is no doubt about it. Eventually it will be shut down. I have no doubt about it at all. It might be in a year's time, might be 10 years time, might be 20 years time, but I know that aquaculture and all these Montipora are grown by me. Is the future of the industry. So I'm trying to do my bit to make it more sustainable. So back on track with what we're doing. You now need to put these in the system. So obviously the glue will have dried a little bit, but it won't have dried obviously fully. So what I like to do is put it over some of the other corals so they can you can see a little bit of the glue comes off. I'm using the wrong lens, which is why it looks very blue. And then I'll just rest it over some of the short corals for a period of time. It won't do any harm to them. And then obviously once all the glue's dried, I'll then take it out. And the other thing that is beneficial, you can see that there's quite a lot of slime on them now. So the other thing that I like to do is to put it in front of the MP40, because it will basically allow, it just helps the corals to shed off some of that slime layer. And yeah, so that's that. While they're setting, because I need the rack to do the rest of them, I'll show you what's going on with system 2, and then that will be, and then once I've done that, they'll have set, and I can put them into the holes, and then we're all good. Right. So what's going on with system 2? Now, system 1 didn't have any sort of, like, from what I remember, I'd have to go back and watch the videos. It didn't really have any sort of biological like process or anything. Like, you didn't notice anything for a period of time, whereas with this tank it's almost immediate, and you can see what it is. We've got like a film on the glass, and there's like cyanobacteria growing on the frag racks. Now I've done exactly the same thing with system 2 as I did with system 1. I'm not sure why there's a difference. The corals are still doing fine. I still haven't cleaned the glass or anything, but as you can see, the original frog spawn is still in there. It actually, let me turn the camera around, it actually looks surprisingly green compared to the other ones. The other ones are sort of like a tan colour, whereas for whatever reason this one is like, it looks like it's green. And then the Stylophora, this is a Milka Stylophora, which I thought I'll just put one group of SPS in there. These were fragged about a week ago. Now, what's interesting in this system is if you look at this little cut here, that's the only cut, and I put it, that's the only exposed cut, which I did on purpose, and I put it at the front so I could watch it. I could like watch the corals heal, because if you look at this cut, and I take you over to here, then you can see what I've done is I basically just cut the tops off of each of these frags. These frags are healing much, much faster in this system than they are in the in system 2. Now again, I'm not entirely sure, is it because they've got additional nutrients, but there is definitely a noticeable difference with regards to the healing process in this tank compared to this one. But yeah, so at the moment I'm just sort of leaving it to just see what it does. There is a little bit of nitrate in here, a little bit of phosphate, which I added. I suppose possibly the difference is I added food to the other one rather than actual phosphate and nitrate directly. And the other thing is I've only got one of the MP40s on, which is over there, because if I put 2 on, it's too powerful for the frog spawns. You'll notice that in this system, the frog spawns and all the hammers and everything are either at the very back or they're in between the two MP40s. And that means the flow is obviously hitting all these corals first before it eventually gets to those, and then creates like a really, really just like soft flow, if you see what I mean. So yeah, so it's definitely something that's interesting to watch. Yeah, I'm still learning stuff all the time. And obviously I've been doing this 14 years now, but it's like my 1,000 litre tank at my parents' house. The dosing tube, if you follow me on Facebook and Instagram, it's just at Prestige Reef. If you want to come join us, I do little updates quite regularly on there. My 1,000 litre tank, basically the KH tube blocked, and I kid you not, the KH of that system, which you'll see on as I said on Instagram, dropped down to I think 3.4. That's right, 3.4. And I've also put a picture of the corals, and they're all fine. The corals are completely fine. And some people go, "Oh, the reagent was broken on the hand, was out of date on the hand checker," or people will say that like all different things. I checked it with a hand checker, with a Red Sea, and with a Saltwater alkalinity test, and it all 3 of them came out exactly the same, pretty much, give or take a point. So as I said, I'm learning all the time. Now the reason I don't see that tank, my parents are isolating, so if you didn't know the story, so I basically took all the corals out and I put them in here, and then left because it was mainly just, obviously it's just fish, so it was just easy to look after, and it's been 3.5 months since it's been properly maintained. Fish are all fine, fat, happy, healthy. My parents aren't that good at cleaning the glass. They're a bit, lazy. So they don't worry, they don't watch my videos, so it's all good. Yeah, so basically the fish have got more to eat than usual. There is no nitrate issue, no phosphate issue. The only issue is that the alkalinity is low, which I'm very, very slowly increasing. And we'll see, but some of the corals in those tanks look better than they have ever looked. Some of the corals in those tanks look better than they do in this tank, and I just cannot work out why. So, as I said, I'm learning stuff all the time. Anyway, I think that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoy watching the video. Please feel free to comment below if you have any questions. If you did enjoy it, why not click that like and subscribe button. Only something like 15% of the people that actually watch the channel regularly are subscribed, so it actually makes a huge difference if you just click that button for me. And yeah, and the only other thing is obviously, many of you will know, obviously I always say at the end of the video, thank you for everyone that supports the channel on Patreon. The Patreon community is growing, which is good, and there's quite a few corals on there now which aren't on the website, which are only available to patrons. So and I'm sure some of the patrons will say in the comment section below that it's worth it. It's worth paying $1 just to get early access, or even corals which just literally are not on the website. So and it helps me out hugely. And as I said at the start of this video, I've got a very, very big change coming. Big secret project. Not projects, probably project's probably the wrong term. But when you find out what it is, you'll understand why. But yeah, so people that obviously are helping to support the channel on Patreon, it's like it makes a huge difference. So yeah. Anyway, I'll let you go off and do whatever you need to do, and have a good week, and I will see you next time.